guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Jessica Nicole. I am a self-published author of YA fantasy romance novels, and welcome to the first video of 2023. That is so crazy to say. I cannot believe we are in a new year. I'm so excited for all the things I know this year is going to bring, and without further delay, let's go ahead and get into my December reading wrap-up. So in December, I read 6 books. I read 6 books in December. I read 3 physical books and I read 3 audiobooks. And I am going to basically tell you what I thought about each one of them, give you my rating for each one of them, and yeah, just let you know my general thoughts. For the most part, it was good. Some of them, I don't know. You'll see when I talk about it. So starting off with the first book that I read, I was flipping through my journal because I wrote down my ratings for each of the books in here. The first book I read in December was For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. This is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling mixed with some Beauty and the Beast and a little bit of Snow White. But basically the premise of this book is it centers around this girl named Red. She's a princess. She's the second born princess, so she's kind of like the spare, and so the spare princess always is sacrificed to the Wilderwood, which is like this sentient, sinister forest that kills them basically. They're sent for the wolf. Like the wolf is like this creature that lives in the Wilderwood, and the Wilderwood is this barrier between the kingdom and the monster lands. But when Red is sent into the woods to find the wolf, she learns that he is kind of just this tragic hero type guy. He's not the monster that everyone in the kingdom makes him out to be, and he's got this horrible fate and this horrible, like, martyr type mission that he's on, and she decides to help him on his mission, on his journey. There's all kinds of stuff going on back in the kingdom. You get these like little interludes in the story called these Valiant interludes in the story that kind of show you all the crazy behind the scenes stuff that's going on, that centers around Red's sister as her sister is trying to get her back. And along the way, Red and the wolf kind of fall in love. They develop feelings for each other. The romance in this story like took me so by surprise, and I loved it. Like, this is my favorite book of 2022, if you can't already tell. I loved it. It was so unexpected and so beautiful, and I was expecting all the dark fantasy vibes. I was not expecting all the heartwarming found family. I love found family vibes, and the beautiful romance in between these two characters. I am going to be reading the sequel to this in January, so this month, called For the Throne. I have it right here, and it centers more around Red's sister Neve, but as her journey continues, because this ends on a massive cliffhanger, just a warning. But yeah, Red and Aemon who is the wolf, they make appearances in this book as well, so I'm excited for that. I'm excited to start that. So For the Wolf, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, and I finished it on December the 10th. Okay, and then the next book I read was actually The Inheritance Games. Yeah, I read The Inheritance Games. I listened to that one on Audible. I listened to The Inheritance Games, and I also listened to The Hawthorne Legacy, so I'm going to kind of talk about them together. The Inheritance Games trilogy basically centers around this girl, Avery Grahams, who has grown up her whole life playing puzzle games and things that her and her mom made up. And I kind of think it was like sort of her mom training her, because maybe she knew something like this was going to happen. I don't know, because we learn a lot more about Avery's connection to the Hawthorne family in the second book. So basically one day Avery finds out that she has inherited the fortune of this billionaire guy that she's never met, and she has to go live in his mansion. That's kind of reminds me of the Clue mansion, because there's all these secret passageways and things. And she meets his grandsons. There's sort of a love triangle between 2 of the grandsons and her as they try to decide why the grandpa left her all this money and she's not related to them. but it's not really a love triangle. Like, people talk about it, the love triangle, like it's a thing, but to me it's not a thing, because I could tell like how it was going to end up from jump. I haven't even read the third book, and I already know how it's going to end up. Like, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like a true love triangle to me, which is totally fine. The author, I could tell she tried to kind of write it like a love triangle, which, if it's a love triangle, it needs to kind of be a mystery as to who the main character is going to choose, you know. But other than that, I really did enjoy these books. I liked the second one a lot better than the first one. The first one, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I read it in about 3 days, and the second one I gave 5 out of 5 stars, and I read that one in about 5 days. Okay, and I'm excited to read the third one. I am reading that in January, so a little sneak peek to my January TBR. Okay, so that's 3 of the books. The next book that I read was actually Promises and Pomegranates. Oh, The Inheritance Games and The Hawthorne Legacy are both by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and Promises and Pomegranates is by Sav R. Miller. This is I don't know why I did that. This is a contemporary dark fantasy, kind of based on the mythos of Hades and Persephone. If you know anything about Greek mythology, you've probably heard of the tale of Hades and Persephone. Persephone is the daughter of Demeter, and Hades basically kidnaps her and forces her to be his wife in the underworld. This is not a fantasy book. I did not know that before I bought it, but that's fine. I've learned that I can tolerate contemporary romance if it's like a darker contemporary romance, because, I don't know, it's interesting that way. But otherwise, I do not like contemporary romance, and so we'll talk about that when I talk about the next book I read. But yeah, basically, I loved this story. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. I finished this book in like maybe a week, if that. I just, like, once I started, I couldn't stop. I found so many things, so many quotes in here that I underlined because I just loved them so much. This is definitely a reread for me. I'm definitely going to reread all these books at some point that I've talked about so far, because I don't know, I just love them so much. And I love Cal and Elena. I love their relationship. I love how they both grow as people, how their love for each other transforms them. It's a mafia romance. Cal works for Elena's dad, but he's kind of been working behind the scenes to kind of undermine her dad for a long time because of something that went on in the past. I feel like I do have to give trigger warnings for this. There's a full list of warnings on her website if you want to go read them before. This is part of a series, but I think they're just interconnected standalones. I think I got the tamest one out of the bunch just from reading the trigger warnings and stuff, so just keep that in mind. This is a dark fantasy, not dark fantasy, this is a dark contemporary romance in every sense of the word, so trigger warnings. Grooming, but not between the 2 main characters. It happened to one of the main characters, but yeah, not between the 2 of them. This is a little age gap. This is an age gap romance, but it's not weird. Everybody's legal age. We've got some cheating going on. Again, not between the 2 main characters. It's between side characters. We have some torture, death, and gore. Lots of gore. We have knife and blood play in this. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Profanity and violence. But other than that, I think that's all the triggers. Like I said, if I missed any, there's a full list on her website, which I appreciate. But yeah, I really loved this. I was surprised by how much I loved it. And I love the little nods they give to the actual myth, how they bring in parts of the myth of Hades and Persephone and different things from Greek mythology. Like, for example, the mansion he lives in is called the Asphodel, and it's like a converted hotel. And yeah, I just really loved this. It was a wild ride. It was fun, and I will definitely be reading more dark contemporary romance in the future. Alright, the last audiobook I listened to was, I gave that 5 out of 5 stars, by the way. The last audiobook I listened to, I gave 3 out of 5 stars because it was just a regular contemporary romance, Christmassy type thing. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't good, so I just didn't enjoy it. I just find contemporary romances kind of boring. I don't know. I just find them kind of boring because I feel like I read for an escape. I feel like I read because I want to experience something that I can't experience in real life, and I feel like a contemporary romance can happen to anybody. Like, things that happen to them happen all the time, and I just, I don't want to do that. I can go out and, live a contemporary romance if I feel like it. But like a fantasy romance, I can't. A dark romance, I can't, because, honey, no. But anyway, it was called Nick and Noelle's Christmas Playlist, and it was cute. It was what it was. It was, the characters were a little mid. The story was a little mid, but it was okay. It was like a cute contemporary Christmas read. I won't be reading it again. I won't be reading like any more books like that. I'm gonna have to find like more books like the one I'm gonna talk about next for the Christmas and wintry season. Because no, I'm not reading any more contemporary romances. I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars because for what it was, judging it by its own criteria, it was good. And the last book that I read in December was Midnight in Everwood, by M.A. Kuzniar. And this is a retelling of The Nutcracker. I loved this story. I loved how it I highlighted a bunch in this book. Like, there were so many good quotes in here. I loved how it was kind of more of, like, there was a romance in here. There was, like, packed with fantasy. It's a fantasy romance, sort of. Historical fantasy with a dash of romance. There was tons of fantasy. There was a little sprinkling of romance in there, but it wasn't really about that. It was kind of like a journey of self-discovery for the main character. The only thing I didn't like about this was like the middle. Felt like it dragged a little bit, but I think that was more so just me being like book tired, because I read more books in this month than I have in any other month of the year, and I will not be reading 6 books next month. No, I'm never gonna read this many books in a month again, because reading is supposed to be fun. Like, reading is fun for me. It's an escape, and I don't want it to feel like something I have to do. So I'm just gonna be reading, less books than 6, but I'm still gonna be setting a reading goal every month and reading. But anyway, the middle just felt like it dragged a little bit for me, but other than that, I really enjoyed this book. I loved all the ballet terms that are in this book. The premise of this book is that she's a ballerina from an affluent family, but ballet is kind of seen as like a lower thing to do for women. Like, it's not proper for a lady to do. So her parents are going to make her quit ballet after she gives her last performance on Christmas Day, and she's got this suitor who's trying to like force her into marrying him, and he sends her to Everwood because he's got like powers. He sends her to Everwood, which seems like a beautiful place, but there's like a dark, seedy undercurrent to it, and she gets caught up in it. There's a lot going on. Like, like I said, there's a romance, there's mystery, there's some intrigue, there's a war, there's just so much happening, and the whole time she's going through this journey of self-discovery, of learning to dare to dream and to believe in herself and to become a person she didn't know she could be but always wanted to be. And that's just the main theme of this book, and I really enjoyed it. It's so atmospheric, like for winter, not even just for Christmas, but just for winter. So if you are looking for a fun winter fantasy book, here you go, Midnight in Everwood. And I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. And those are the 6 books that I read in December. That's my December reading wrap up. I will be doing my January TBR, my 2023 goals. All those fun videos are coming up very soon, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and always believe in your own magic, and I will catch you guys in my next video.